Today on Rappler, the U.S. government shuts down for the first time in 17 years as Congress misses its deadline to pass the budget. Will the Senate summon Janet Napoles? The tug-of-war will be settled in a caucus.
That is illegal, and disbursements of that would also be illegal.
And former Senator Joker Arroyo says Malacanang's program that released funds to select lawmakers is illegal. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. For the first time in 17 years, the United States government shuts down early Tuesday after Congress misses the deadline to pass a budget. Lawmakers couldn't agree on a spending bill to fund the government, with House Republicans continuing to oppose President Barack Obama's signature health reform law. Around 800,000 government workers are expected to be sent home. Government services will be slashed and monuments and national parks closed. Military personnel, though, remain on duty. Only workers deemed essential will be at their desks from Tuesday onwards, leaving government departments like the White House with skeletal staff. Just hours before the deadline, the Democratic-led Senate rejected the bill passed by the House, which would delay Obama's health care law for a year. The law requires all Americans to buy health insurance. Obama warns the shutdown could badly damage an economy struggling to recover from its worst recession in decades. He earlier accused Republicans of holding America at ransom with their, quote, extreme political demands, while his opponents strike back at his party's supposed arrogance.
But one faction of one party in one House of Congress in one branch of government doesn't get to shut down the entire government just to refight the results of an election. You don't get to extract a ransom for doing your job, for doing what you're supposed to be doing anyway.
A 2-week shutdown would cut 0.3 percentage point off of gross domestic production. On Monday, stocks retreated as traders braced for the shutdown. A CNN poll shows more Americans would blame Republicans for the shutdown than Democrats. After much debate, the entire Senate will now decide on whether or not to summon alleged pork barrel scam mastermind Janet Lim Napoles to the Blue Ribbon Committee hearings in the Philippines. Senate President Franklin Drilon says he will call for a senator's caucus to discuss the issue when session resumes on October 14th. This comes after Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales says she, quote, submits to the collective wisdom of the Senate's members, but maintains Napoles' testimony is, quote, not advisable. Drilon says he's confident his colleagues will support his decision not to summon Napoles, saying, we consider it a matter of prime importance that we should allow the Ombudsman to complete its initial fact-finding evaluation of the plunder case filed before it. The Ombudsman is handling a plunder complaint filed by the Justice Department against Senators Jinggoy Estrada, Juan Ponce Enrile, and Bong Revilla Jr., and 35 other individuals for the pork barrel scam. Blue Ribbon Committee Chair T.G. Gingona wants Napoles to appear in the Senate, saying her testimony is, quote, the only thing lacking to complete the story. But Senator Sergio Osmeña III says summoning her will be, in his words, useless because her lawyer already said Napoles will just invoke her right to remain silent during the Senate probe. Former Senator Joker Arroyo says Malacanang's release of 1.107 billion pesos to select lawmakers, supposedly to boost government spending, is illegal. In a press conference Tuesday, Arroyo hits the Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP, as a, quote, invention of the Department of Budget and Management.
Creation only of the department, that is illegal, and disbursements of that would also be illegal. This is a crime. Releasing money without any legal support.
The Budget Department identified DAP as the source of funds released to select senators following the conviction of former Chief Justice Renato Corona in May 2012. But Budget Secretary Butchabad says the money was not a bribe. Senate President Franklin Drilon admits receiving 100 million pesos, while Speaker Sonny Belmonte says congressmen got 10 million pesos each. Both denied the releases were related to the Corona trial. Commission on Audit Chair Grace Pulido-Tan says her agency is now auditing the fund meant to boost government spending after it became controversial because of allegations of misuse. In a privileged speech last week, Senator Jinggoy Estrada insinuated Malacanang released an extra 50 million pesos in pork barrel to senators in 2012 as a reward for convicting former Chief Justice Renato Corona. In a television interview, Tan says COA is getting the list of recipients of the Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP, from the Budget Department. Tan announces the audit after Senator Miriam Santiago asked COA to conduct a special audit. In a letter to Tan, Santiago says she wants to know the legal explanation for, quote, giving special treatment to Senate President Frank Drilon, Senate Minority Leader Juan Ponce Enrile, and Senator Chis Escudero, who reportedly got 100 million pesos instead of 50 million pesos. COA, or the Commission on Audit, wants officials of a government corporation and the fake non-governmental organizations it accredited to return billions in lawmakers' pork barrel that were misused over 5 years. The National Agribusiness Corporation, or NABCOR, was found to have released around 1.45 billion pesos to NGOs from 2007 to 2011. A COA special report says NABCOR released the most amount of misused pork barrel during the time of former President Gloria Arroyo. In a testimony before the Senate, former NABCOR President Alan Javellana admits his agency funded NGOs without vetting them. According to COA's latest report, 19 of its recommendations to avoid further misuse of the pork barrel were, quote, not implemented by NABCOR. COA now wants NABCOR and the NGOs to return all questioned fund releases. Covered by the initial notices of disallowance are 470.32 million pesos worth of transactions. Another 866.94 million pesos is still undergoing evaluation. The pork barrel fund scam rocked the nation's faith in public officials in high places, but another sector is also feeling the backlash: real NGOs. A new fund infusion from USAID not only wants to trigger inclusive growth, it also wants to help rehabilitate the reputation of NGOs. David Losada reports.
A total of 6.156 billion was transferred by the agencies to 82 non-government organizations.
Nowadays, NGO, which stands for Non-Governmental Organization, is a dirty acronym. After the Napoles scam, legitimate organizations lost a lot of credibility, and it's hitting the groups where it hurts the most: funding.
When our member organizations interact with people, they would always ask, are you not one of that Napoles types of NGOs? So we would always have to explain that we're not that kind of NGO.
NGO worker Christine De Villa says it's going to take a lot of work recovering from the stigma.
There are a great number of credible and legitimate NGOs out there, but their reputation is being tarnished because of the Napoles group of NGOs.
Outgoing U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Harry Thomas Jr., says civil society will always play a role in development. He says he believes in the basic honesty of Filipinos.
And we must never use a broad brush to approach or generalize individuals or organizations. After all, most of the Filipino people are honest, just as most of the American people are honest.
The United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, launches the Philippine American Fund, a 5-year grant facility amounting to $24 million, roughly 1.04 billion pesos. Just a little bit more than the money siphoned off by Napoles NGOs in the Malampaya fund scam. Thomas assures the public the funds will be closely monitored.
SGV, lead accounting firm, is involved, and I'm sure their accounting practices and ours will ensure that the money is well utilized.
The fund aims to finance activities at the grassroots that will lead to sustainable growth. The PhilAm Fund focuses on 5 strategic priorities: anti-human trafficking, promoting businesses, government transparency, education, and biodiversity. Chief of Party Victoria Garchitorena says the fund welcomes new ideas in terms of programs and will be very flexible.
We're really not risk averse because we're looking for new solutions. We would be open to ideas that maybe we're not sure if it will succeed, but nothing is ever sure in this life. As long as you have the capacity, you have the competence, and you have the governance in place to make sure that you give it your best shot.
The grants range from 2 million to 20 million pesos. More information can be found in the Jerry Rojas Foundation website. There are real NGOs out there carrying out the spade work of development, and with the help of reputable funds, these groups don't have to be the national symbol of corruption, alongside the pork barrel. David Lozada, Rappler, Manila.
The Court of Appeals affirms its earlier decision clearing former Palawan Governor Joel Reyes in the 2011 killing of broadcaster Jerry Ortega. Voting 3-2, the court rejects Justice Secretary Laila de Lima's appeal for the court to reverse its March ruling junking the murder case against Reyes. The court says in recommending Reyes' indictment, de Lima failed to observe protocol governing investigations of cases. The court earlier nullified de Lima's Department Order No. 710, which created the second panel that reviewed and found probable cause to indict Reyes and his brother Mario for murder. In her motion for reconsideration, de Lima says the CA decision was, quote, erroneous, and the court, quote, grossly misappreciated the facts of the case. The Reyes brothers are accused of plotting the murder of Ortega, who exposed corruption in the province and accused the former governor of misusing the Malampaya Fund. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 7, a study says the global war on heroin, cocaine, and cannabis fails to stem supply as prices of these drugs fall even as authorities confiscate more supplies in the illegal trade. The price of heroin drops 81%, cocaine prices fall 80%, and cannabis or marijuana prices fall 86% between 1990 and 2007 in the United States. Over the same period, the average purity of these drugs rise. Heroin by 60%, cocaine by 11%, and cannabis by 161%. The findings coincide with debate in several countries about whether to loosen laws on certain drugs. At number 8, Coca-Cola loses its crown as the world's best brand as iconic iPhone and iPad maker Apple takes the number 1 spot. This marks the first time the soft drink company missed the top spot on, quote, the Best Global Brand Report, a lineup created in 2000 by marketing consultancy Interbrand. Coca-Cola drops 2 places in 2013, also losing to search giant Google, which came in second. Apple slowly climbed the ranks since beginning at number 36 in 2000. And at number 9, after CNN canceled plans for a documentary on former U.S. State Secretary Hillary Clinton, NBC also drops a mini-series about her. The Republican Party earlier voted to ban CNN and NBC from sponsoring Republican primary debates unless they canceled their Clinton projects. The Clinton camp also pressured NBC to drop the show. Democrats are eyeing Hillary Clinton as their possible standard-bearer in the 2016 presidential race. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has its own mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel, and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have gotten the most number of votes. These 10 stories here on the front page have affected our readers and our viewers the most. If you take a look today, you have the U.S. federal government shuts down 2 ways, 46% sad, 44% don't care, but you also have both 2 other stories on it. What happens during a U.S. government shutdown? You have 48% afraid, 22% sad, and with no budget, U.S. government shuts down, 50% afraid, 10% sad, and interestingly enough, you've got 8% angry, 7% don't care, and 7% happy. Look at that green, because that green is carried by the entertainment and and beauty pageant stories, the story that's gotten the most number of votes still is from the weekend. Philippines wins the world. This is at Megan Bata. Megan Young winning Miss World, 79% happy. That is, the green is the mood of the day. Today, most people are happy. Well, that is Rappler's Newscast for today, Tuesday, October 1, 2013, the first day of October. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.